Rivera, an undergraduate student from the Technological Institute of Philippines, located in Quezon City, Philippines. The title of the thesis is GMA Network Incorporation, Multimedia Broadcasting and Cultural Center, Enlivening Philippine Methodology through Social Architecture at Quezon City, Philippines, under the theme Urban Management. Can we hear from you, Eraño?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Can you see my screen already?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, good day everyone. I hope everyone is having a great day today. So this is actually my project. So first, the proliferation of fake news has evolved into a full-fledged crisis with alarming consequences, spanning social, political, and economic spheres worldwide. But for the past few years, we've witnessed the importance of being informed as we fight our battles against misinformation and disinformation. And we must not forget that it is a basic human right to have access in right information. So the goals and objectives for this project is basically to create a space that is inclusive and accessible to the public, that serves as the center of right information dissemination while instilling our culture. And the other will be discussed later. So the question right now is, how did misinformation keeps winning nowadays? It is because everyone today has their own social media. And this became the platform to easily spread misinformation and disinformation to the public. And what is the relationship between the social media and the urban? So basically, social media can have both direct and indirect effects on our urbanization. While it might not be a primary driver of urbanization itself, social media can influence various aspects of urbanization and urban life. So these are the studies that came from the United States, from Pew Research Center. Survey found that 64% of Americans said that fake news had caused a great deal of confusion. So let us not forget that USA is in a first world country. How about those people who came from a third world country like the Philippines? So similar studies conducted in the Philippines that says 86% of the Filipinos saw this as a major problem that harms unity and trust in media, while 70% of Filipinos has a social media and we uses it as a daily source of information. So a study also says that 90% of Filipinos are considered class CDE, or these are the middle to low income families. So in line with this, 90.6% of Filipino children aged 10 appear to be in a situation of learning poverty. So why do these numbers hold significance in dealing urban management? Because poor people are the most vulnerable in believing the fake news. And that is the first problem that we are trying to solve. The second problem is we faced a biggest crisis in 2020 in the middle of pandemic. There is a broadcasting network in the country lost its franchise. So they stopped operating in the country. So imagine that Filipino doesn't have a source of right information in the middle of pandemic. And it resulted to around 11,000 employees were affected by this, and most of them lost their jobs. So one network, which is the GMA, saw this opportunity to expand their network. And it leads to GMA Network, a commercial broadcasting center, to invest in new state-of-the-art studios. And it includes a new building for its broadcasting center. So the approach is through social architecture. So as you can see in my presentation, these are the existing broadcasting centers in the Philippines. So we consider this as an exclusive one, a walled architecture. So basically, it's not an inclusive space for the public, and it does not promote an inclusive environment. It's not inviting at all. So this project aims to solve the problem of GMA network by accommodating those people who lost their jobs by designing a new complex that is more inclusive and culturally inclined. And also, this will boost their confidence to have the best service in Filipino people to disseminating right information. So the idea is to merge the elements consisting broadcasting center, cultural center, and Philippine mythology as point of interest. And later I will discuss why we are going to merge these three elements. So first, for its macro analysis, we have to identify where the fake news came from and which cities or region in the Philippines are the most affected of it. So in the study conducted, Metro Manila is the most affected of the fake news because Metro Manila became the location of the poor people. It became the area where informal settlers um, grow. So these are the maps where informal settlements are keep growing now as of today. And only four broadcasting centers were located in the area. So for its microanalysis, the Quezon City is the chosen city for this project since it's going to be the heart of Metro Manila. Quezon City also the biggest city and Metro Manila composed of 75% informal settlers. It is also a best location for the cultural center integration because it is accessible and can be traveled using all of the land transportation available in the city. So for the design process of our structure and the development of the site, first we have to identify the roads around the site and dividing this into three parts. So it comes with the private, public, and semi-private. The private one will be for the broadcasting center. So it is intended for studios and research, while the semi-private is for spaces that requires public connection. And the public spaces are those open spaces where people can take a rest, can hang out while having the opportunity to get informed since it's going to be a broadcasting complex. So next is maintaining existing connections, identifying green spaces for the public, massing of the site, and the application of the building laws. So aside from that, we also considered the surroundings of the site where residential, commercial, and institutional are present. So also we considered the site analysis, wind path, and the road network. So here, as you can see, um, the circulation for cars, so it is accessible, the whole site, and the buses for those people who doesn't have cars, who wanted to go to the complex, and for emergency and pedestrian. So this is the site development plan. So as you can see, it has three main structures. The office building for the research team and the broadcasting center itself. This is the second building where a culturally inclined design, where we have a theater and public spaces that is more private, not open to the public 24 hours. And the rest are public spaces that can be accessible at all times. So these are the aerial perspectives and the architecture details of the project. So in conclusion, the project underscores the imperative of architects to play a pivotal role in shaping our community, a more inclusive and diverse society through thoughtful and deliberate design. The realization is that spaces can have the power to foster a sense of belonging and unity among diverse communities has never been more pressing. In context, the concept of social architecture emerges as a potent tool to bridge gaps and create environments that resonate with everyone. So the essence of inclusivity lies in acknowledging that everyone has an equal right to access accurate and relevant information. In the face of a rampant crisis of misinformation and disinformation, particularly evident in urban areas, the proposition of designing a broadcasting center takes on a transformative significance, such as center, strategically placed within an urban setting grappling with these challenges, serve as a beacon of reliable information dissemination. So this architectural intervention directly confronts the proliferation of fake news, offering a counter narrative that is grounded in accuracy and truth. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Communication and information sharing is an integral part of urban space design, and I believe this thesis was an approach to taking advantage of the social nature of community spaces to address information sharing. I'll now invite our panelists to share their opinions and comments. Can we start with Dr. Manoj?
In fact, it was very interesting the way the whole thesis was structured and the way you have built up your theory and converted them into design principles and the way you have demonstrated it. I don't have much to say about this. It's good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Can
so
we
much.
hear from Dr. Nabil?
Well, thank you very much for your project. It's really interesting, the quality of the presentation and the process that you have used and the ideas. They're really fascinating, and I would like to commend you on that. I liked also what you have presented about the walled spaces versus the open spaces and how involving people in the decision making or even within the space could push the authenticity of news or the broadcasting or the content of the broadcasting. Although I might have a different point of view on this. Because good space or bad space, from my point of view, I don't know if it's right or not. It's just a debatable issue, of course. If you're going to broadcast something which is fake, the space itself will not affect your decision. This is a purely mere decision of people taking the decision to produce good content of the broadcast or a bad content. So whether if you are providing a good, open, naturally ventilated with green space or it's closed, damp space, it's not going to affect the decision in producing a bad news or a fake news. This is my point of view, although I value that you are giving a good environment so people would work in and provide and push the efforts to produce the best that they can have. But is this going to affect the type of news that they're going to broadcast? Maybe this is a question that might need a little bit of more discussion. But again, this does not affect your good quality of design. The end result is very good. Thank you very much for it. And maybe if we have more time, we might discuss or debate about this point, but I know that we have limited time for this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we hear from Architect Nicola?
Yeah, so thanks for your presentation, even from my side. I also shared the previous comments. I think like the design is really interesting. I think like the main issue I got during your presentation is that I don't see a clear connection between the premises and the design. Let's say, I mean, your premises were extremely interesting and relevant. Even the design is extremely relevant and interesting, but it seems like they could have been like two different theses. So it's like trying to combine two different topics, but I mean, the chain in between, I think it's missing. So I think it's like two really valid solutions and approaches and design, but I think it's like two different things. And in terms of like your presentation, maybe in the analysis, you could have been more detailed. So like the two images were really, let's say, simple, and maybe that could have been something that to support your idea of wall architecture, open space. And I really appreciated the design process diagram. So that was really interesting. But I share with you the same doubt we also had with another presentation. So why the decision to divide private, semi, and public in that way? So like that rigid division, and also like why private on the right and public on the left? I mean, what's happening on the two edges? So if you say maybe from the analysis that on one side you have another park, you have public facilities, then I understand the reasoning of maybe having continuity and a permeable pathway, but otherwise it's like really rigid and imposed from above. But I mean, it could have been mirrored, and it works in any way. And then this is also the issue maybe with the masses, which seem a bit placed from the top. So you see the inclination you propose, you may ask like, why that inclination? I mean, that axis as a reason. In the same way, maybe the shape, the canopies, because the design is really interesting, but I think maybe in this sense you missed a bit the point. Then some minor comments. I think in your diagram it was interesting to see the emergency path, the pedestrian ones. Maybe you could have like separated layers, for example, to see what is truly just pedestrian, for example, instead of having like cars at the same time pedestrian and for emergencies. So maybe to divide the layers. And in the plan, I think in your case, even, I mean, checking the renders, because I don't know the context, shadows would have been really useful, because from the plan you presented, at first I didn't understand those were buildings. I just thought it was like all flat with some squares. But I mean, shadows are also useful from the surroundings, because I understand the heights of the buildings, what is the perceptions of the two sides. So shadows are really, really important. And the last maybe missing point, because you have a really interesting architecture, but we don't really see what happens on the ground figure. So what is the interface between the building and the public space you design? What it's like to be like with the door on your right. So you are outside, you are close to the building. What is the perception of the space? So maybe that sense could have been